Alright guys, you know what time it is. Time for another tabletop review. And this week we are looking at the Cardillo 10mm power belt. Okay? Now, as you can tell, this has had quite a bit of use through it. A lot of people will ask me, in the last review, I talked about how I like to have things I can put on and immediately be better. So let's talk about why you would use something like this. A belt will immediately make you better at squatting, deadlifting, anything where you have to brace your core. Okay. Now, I get a lot of people saying, well, Lane, if it can make you better, then your core is just too weak. I would disagree with that. Okay. And the research actually demonstrates that using a belt, if you use it correctly, which is using it to brace your core against it. Most people actually don't use a belt correctly. They wear it too low, okay, so they wear it over the spot where they would brace their abdominal wall, and they don't wear it for the proper lifts. You don't need this for curls. You don't need this for press downs, okay? You don't even need this for bench presses or military presses, although some people like to wear it, okay? You would wear this for squats, deadlifts, things where you really want a counterpoint to push against when you're bracing your abdominal wall. But then again, most people don't brace their abdominal wall correctly when they lift, but that's a topic for another day. So if you look at the data on people lifting in belts, you actually tend to get very similar core activation. If nothing else, you get a little bit more core activation when you use a belt compared to not using a belt. Now, why is that? Two reasons. One, because you have something to press out against, because your abdominal wall feels this. It's almost like positive reinforcement, and you actively push out more against it. Okay, that's one reason. The other reason is quite simply you can use more weight, and so you get more core activation from that. All right, so there's my 2 cents on why I wear a belt and why I recommend people wearing a belt. And yes, for me, it has made a difference in terms of safety when I lift. Just being able to keep me more upright in a squat or deadlift. Okay, now let's get down to the crux of the review. This particular belt. This is a 10mm. Okay, so it's a little bit thinner than a 13mm. I think this is a great all-around, all-purpose use belt. I've had this belt for 6 years. I've never had any problems with it. Would I use it for super heavy max effort squats? You could, but I prefer a 13mm. That's not the fault of this belt. This belt is very good. It's very comfortable. It broke in really easy, which for a lot of times that can be difficult with belts. Yeah, I just love this belt. Now it's a little bit expensive. You're going to pay around $100 for it, if not more. But the material is very soft. It's very comfortable. As I said, it was very easy to break in. And for an all-around use belt, or for higher rep squats, deadlifts, or for maybe somebody who isn't into, very, very heavy weights in terms of, maxing frequently or 3-rep maxing, that sort of thing, and they don't really care for the 13mm, then maybe this is something they would use for lifting heavy. Again, I'm not saying you can't lift heavy in it. You absolutely can, and I've done it. I squatted 525 for 9 reps in this belt one time. But I just prefer a 13mm. And so I highly recommend this belt. If you guys are interested in it, I would check it out. Yes, it's more expensive than a lot of the other belts, but I think Cardillo has great quality, and I would not hesitate to recommend them. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. We'll talk again soon.